Did you know that more than 400 million people now use ChatGPT every week? That artificial intelligence is already helping millions of workers write emails, create reports, analyze information, and solve problems every single day? According to research from Stanford University, Pew Research Center, Gallup, and other leading institutions, artificial intelligence is rapidly becoming part of everyday life. Students use it to learn. Businesses use it to increase productivity. Programmers use it to write code. Creators use it to generate ideas, images, and content. And yet, only a few years ago, ChatGPT did not exist. Today, hundreds of millions of people interact with artificial intelligence, but perhaps the most surprising fact is this. The technology behind ChatGPT was not created in 2022. It was not created in 2015, and it certainly was not built overnight. Its story began more than 70 years ago with a single question: can a machine think? The year was 1950. The world was rebuilding after World War II. Computers were massive machines that filled entire rooms. They were expensive, slow, and incredibly limited. Yet one man imagined something extraordinary. His name was Alan Turing, a British mathematician, a code breaker, and one of the fathers of modern computer science. Turing proposed an idea that shocked many people. Instead of asking whether machines could think, he asked a different question. Could a machine communicate so naturally that a human would not know the difference? This became known as the Turing test. At the time, many considered the idea impossible. Some believed machines would never understand language. Others believed intelligence belonged exclusively to humans. But the seed had been planted. Alan Turing never saw ChatGPT. He never saw the internet. He never saw smartphones. And he never witnessed artificial intelligence enter millions of homes. But he imagined it. More than 70 years before ChatGPT existed, he imagined a future where humans could speak naturally with machines. Many laughed at the idea. Many dismissed it. Some called it impossible. Yet the question he asked in 1950 continues to echo through every conversation we have with artificial intelligence today. Can a machine think? Sometimes history is changed not by answers, but by a single question. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, researchers became optimistic. Governments invested heavily in artificial intelligence research. Universities launched ambitious projects. Scientists predicted intelligent machines would arrive within decades. But reality proved far more difficult. Computers lacked the processing power. Data was limited, and many promises could not be fulfilled. Funding disappeared, research slowed, projects were abandoned, the excitement faded. Historians would later call this period the AI winter, and it happened more than once. For decades, artificial intelligence remained trapped between ambition and disappointment. Many people concluded that truly intelligent machines would never exist. But beneath the surface, a small group of researchers continued working, quietly, patiently, year after year. Then something happened that changed everything. The internet arrived. For the first time in history, humanity began creating enormous amounts of digital information. Books, articles, websites, emails, forums, research papers, videos, social media posts. Billions upon billions of words. For the first time, machines had access to a vast library of human knowledge. At the same time, computers became dramatically more powerful. Processing speeds increased, storage became cheaper, new chips were developed, and researchers discovered new methods for training artificial intelligence. The ingredients for a breakthrough were finally coming together. But before we continue, it is important to remember what the world looked like before ChatGPT. For most of human history, knowledge was slow. If you wanted an answer, you had to search for it. You opened books, you visited libraries, You asked teachers. You spent hours researching. Even after the internet arrived, finding reliable information still required effort. You searched Google, opened 10 websites, read 5 articles, compared conflicting opinions, and hoped you found the right answer. Most people accepted this as normal because it was all they had ever known. Nobody imagined that one day you could simply ask a question and receive an answer in seconds. Not from a search engine, but from a machine capable of holding a conversation. The world was about to change, and almost nobody saw it coming. By the early 2000s, artificial intelligence was beginning to show signs of life. Researchers discovered that large neural networks could learn patterns hidden within enormous amounts of data. This approach became known as deep learning. Suddenly, machines started recognizing faces, translating languages, understanding speech, and identifying patterns that humans often missed. The dream was coming back to life. Then came 2015, a year that would change the future of artificial intelligence forever. A new organization was founded with an ambitious mission. Its name was OpenAI. Its goal was simple to describe, but incredibly difficult to achieve. To ensure that artificial intelligence would benefit humanity. Among the people involved were Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Greg Brockman, Ilya Sutskever, and several of the brightest minds in the field. At the time, very few people paid attention. There were no headlines, no worldwide excitement, no public obsession with AI. Almost nobody imagined what would come next. Over the following years, OpenAI developed increasingly powerful language models. First came GPT-1, then GPT-2, then GPT-3. Each version became dramatically more capable than the one before it. The letters GPT stand for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, but the name itself was not important. What mattered was what these systems could do. They could answer questions, write essays, generate stories, summarize information, translate languages, and hold surprisingly natural conversations. Yet most people had never heard of them. Then came November 2022. Inside OpenAI, there was excitement, but there was also uncertainty. The engineers knew they had built something different, something powerful, something the public had never experienced before. But nobody knew what would happen next. Would anyone care? Would people use it? Would it become another forgotten technology experiment? No one knew. Then, on November 30th, 2022, OpenAI released ChatGPT, a simple website, a text box, and a blinking cursor. At first glance, it looked insignificant. But then people started asking questions. The machine answered. They asked for poems. The machine created poems. They asked for business plans. The machine generated business plans. They asked for code. The machine wrote code. For many users, it felt like science fiction had suddenly become reality. Then came the numbers. 1 million users, 5 days. 5 days. For comparison, Netflix took years. Facebook took months. Instagram took weeks. ChatGPT took 5 days. Within roughly 2 months, the platform surpassed 100 million users. At the time, analysts described it as the fastest growing consumer application in history. The reaction was immediate. Businesses paid attention. Schools paid attention. Governments paid attention. Investors paid attention. The world suddenly realized that artificial intelligence was no longer a distant possibility. It was here. Today, artificial intelligence is helping people write emails, create images, analyze documents, develop software, conduct research, learn new skills, and solve problems every day. According to Stanford's AI Index and multiple industry reports, AI adoption continues to accelerate across nearly every major sector of society. Education, healthcare, finance, marketing, manufacturing, software development, research. And this transformation is still in its early stages. But despite all its capabilities, ChatGPT is not conscious. It does not possess emotions, it does not experience reality, and it does not think like a human being. What makes it extraordinary is something different. It learned patterns hidden within the language created by humanity itself. In a strange way, ChatGPT reflects us, our knowledge, our creativity, our questions, our discoveries, and even our mistakes. What makes the story of ChatGPT remarkable is not the machine itself. It is the persistence of the people who refuse to abandon an impossible idea. Researchers who spent decades working through failures, engineers who continued building despite criticism, visionaries who imagined a future nobody else could see. ChatGPT did not appear overnight. It was built on 70 years of questions, 70 years of mistakes, 70 years of curiosity. And now, for the first time in history, humanity is speaking back to its own creation. The story of ChatGPT is not simply the story of a machine. It is the story of human curiosity. A question asked in 1950, a dream carried through decades of failures, and a breakthrough that finally connected artificial intelligence with everyday life. ChatGPT was not the birth of artificial intelligence. It was the moment humanity finally noticed it. And now, the question is no longer whether machines can learn. The question is whether humans can adapt fast enough to the future they have created. Welcome to the human era.